Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And I believe this webinar will be very useful because it will help you to understand how to spend more time on what actually matters and not to draw in Qual data. My name is Tanya. I'm research director at Yasna. My background is qualitative. I was doing Qual in all possible ways, starting from focus groups, in-depth interviews, accompanied shoppings, in-home visits to online communities and AI moderation. And my role at Yasna is to explain to my colleague researchers how to use AI moderation in the most efficient way. Together with the team, we create methodologies and try to find approaches that work better and help you really to get the most out of this qual conversational research. As a qualitative person, and of course, I can say that qual is inevitable for market research, but I'm sure that even quant people would agree with me because communicating with people face to face, listening to their stories, understanding what lays behind the stories, to understand the depth. This is really exciting, engaging, and gives a lot of very important information. But unfortunately, qualitative research is very hard to organize, especially when we're talking about multi-country studies. It is slow. It takes a lot of time and energy and money to do qual. It's really hard to scale. And the analysis is also very time consuming. This is a typical, this is the, let's say, illustration of the typical qual project and the way how we researchers feel in this project. Ideally, in the ideal world, it will be great to keep enthusiasm and motivation till the very end of the project. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way because we start in a very enthusiastic way, right? So when we do briefing, when we create a design of our research and the guides, and when we start collecting the data, it's all very motivating. We're full of enthusiasm and curiosity how to get these insights, what will come. But of course, as always, we have a couple of projects coming together, or we have to continue doing the same routine thing by conducting a lot of groups and interviews, and there are some issues coming out, organizational, every now and then. So unfortunately, usually by the time when our enthusiasm is especially valuable and we need really time and focus on the analysis, by that time, unfortunately, we are feeling a little bit down in terms of energy and in terms of motivation sometimes. But it's a problem, right? Because recommendations, analysis, reporting is something that should be done in a perfect way, right? So moreover, there are market trends. So before it was all about data extraction. So when we started a long time ago, it was all about, it was very important for the market researcher to design survey questionnaire very attentively. It was very important to do the field work and control it with a lot of engagement, right? And do the analysis as well. But now with the development of technologies, artificial intelligence, a lot of things are automated. Human guidance is always necessary, no doubts. But our role is moving to another direction. Now our clients want more than just data. Data is available. It's easy, quite easy to get the data. But to create the storytelling out of this is something that is becoming more and more requested from our clients, from the industry itself. So the last, let's say, 6, 7, 8 years, we live in the world where we need to provide something more than just data. And it's not only us, it's actually the GRID report that confirms this insight. And I'm sure you know the GRID report very well. So it's a very valuable and important resource for many players in our industry. And this is what they wrote in 2025. The ability to translate complex insights into compelling, actionable narratives is what truly drives decision making and impact. Nothing to say. We agree with that, right? And now a question: how can we move to this narrative, this storytelling faster? But at the same time, we need to remind to keep this freshness, energy, and when we write the report, yeah. So, what to do? And this is our answer to this question. We believe in combination and cooperation of artificial and human intelligence. This is what on each stage, yeah, this symbiosis is very, very important. But when we are talking about the first part, well, actually, what we did at Yasna, we automated everything that is possible, that is safe, not just possible, that is safe to be automated, yeah? And of course, human guidance is needed there as well. But when we're talking about data collection, structuring the information, coding the information, summarizing this information, this is something that the AI is really good at, even though we need to instruct correctly, to do necessary inputs, but AI plays a very important role. That's why we can make this process from the setup to preliminary reporting very, very quickly, even in 3 days, for example. Yeah. And I'm talking about hundreds of interviews, by the way. And then when everything is collected and preliminary analyzed, let's say starting from day 4, a human is becoming the most important person in this research process, because now human can deep dive into storytelling, into narratives, into checking and creating and checking them, this hypothesis, provide recommendations. And this is something where our human research expertise and creativity is needed. Now I would like to show you actually how it works in reality. Firstly, you set up the questions and instructions to AI moderator. Then AI moderator collects interviews. In our case, in Yasna, it works like one-on-one chats where Yasna types the questions, open-ended questions, close-ended questions, of course, probing, because the moderation is human-like. Yasna can also demonstrate materials like images, videos, text, and people can reply with text, with voice, or with the video. And then day 3 is initial AI-generated reporting. Yeah, so all the information, you don't need to read interview one by one. You don't need to spend weeks like it is usually done, especially when you have a lot of countries or subgroups. So everything is done instantly in a few minutes. AI moderator, AI researcher analyzes the data. And actually, it's not just summarization of the data, but it's a hybrid approach, because you get both qualitative conclusions supported by numbers, by subgroup analysis, by consumer voice through verbatims. So at the end, this combination of numbers, qualitative conclusions, consumer voice, and so on makes you confident in what you actually recommend to your clients. Yeah, when you take some decisions, you become very much more confident in what you are doing when you have any kind of evidence, right? Qual and quant. So we call it like hybrid confidence. And then let's say day 4, when the human researcher steps in and uses our recent feature, Talk to Data, for narrative building, actually. I absolutely love this feature. It works like it's a kind of ChatGPT-like format when you ask whatever you want about this project, and Yasna reacts and analyzes information for you very, very quickly. You are the one, you researcher, create a hypothesis, ask for different tables, ask to check some ideas, ask to bring evidence for certain ideas that you have in your mind. So this works great, and I would like to demonstrate you one thing. So I'm at Yasna's platform, and this is one of our recent projects about Easter. It was very, very fun. I would like to show you, actually, last night I was experimenting with talk to data by asking Yasna some things that are really important for me. So we asked people about their attitude to Easter, to Easter packaging. By the way, maybe you have seen our LinkedIn post with some of the great findings. And we conducted this research in Poland, UK, and Germany. For example, I asked, make a short, concise conclusion about how people in different countries feel about Easter pack. And I've got some very short and concise conclusions. You will be surprised. Something that actually I can use for my future report, for example, or I can just copy, paste it, and adjust a little bit. But I will also share a few insights. For example, in Poland, because Easter is a very important religious, from religious point of view, holiday, and people love all these bunnies, eggs, traditional motifs, because for them it's a part of this holiday magic. In the UK, people just love the fact that they have another opportunity to have a free day and short vacation. They like the holiday mood, this bright, cheerful, and seasonal packaging, so it creates a certain mood. And they are also very into chocolate and some sweet presents that are typical for Easter, like chocolate bunnies that we love so much, right? And the Germans are more critical and selective. For example, for them, the Easter packaging seems like overpriced, tacky, sometimes tasteful in terms of design, overly commercial. So that's an interesting cultural difference, right? I also asked about some of the numbers. I will show you quickly. I don't want to overload you with some information, but for example, this table also was interesting for me. So I wanted to understand how people, what exactly do they do in different countries when it's Easter. And it's interesting that 65% in Poland actively celebrate Easter, and this is significantly higher than in other countries. And that, for example, bless Easter basket or food, it's just 33% in Poland, and no one from our respondents in Germany and UK, or cook and bake traditional Easter foods, 20% in Poland, 7 in Germany, and just 4 in the UK. But everyone loves Easter, kind of reminder. Yeah, so, and at the same time, by the way, it's Germany with 24% of egg hunt and searching for eggs. I think you know this activity. So actually what I wanted to say is that you can really play with this talk to data. It's your creativity, your ideas, your hypothesis. AI is here for you to give you this information very, very quickly. And now I'm back to my presentation. Actually, just a few slides left. I wanted to tell you a few words about our mission at Yasna. So we would like to help you to save energy for narrative and storytelling, for the most important part for your clients, for your stakeholders. We would like to help you to keep this enthusiasm till the very end, to stay curious, to have enough energy and time to work on the report and create the story that your clients will love so much. Actually, the way you can work with us is just that you send us your research brief with the key objectives, your list of questions. Then we will do, obviously, a description of the target audience and stimulus materials, if you have some, if it's relevant for this project. You send us all this, and then we do the setup. We instruct Yasna how and where to probe, where to focus on. We set up all the materials, we test it, we control the field work, we create a preliminary first report, and then you step in full of energy and enthusiasm for creating your storytelling and narrative. Now it's the time for the Q&A session. So feel free to ask all your questions. And thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
And we will go to Q&A.
Hello.
Tanya, that was great.
Thank you so
we've
much.
Got some questions coming in already, so we will take them from the top to start with, certainly. So when the data is in the ASTA data, in the in the LLM, how secure is that information? Is it used for training an LLM? Is it in different countries, whatever?
Thank you so much for your question. By the way, my colleague Annie shared privacy information about the privacy, so you can read it more attentively. But answering your question, so we use large language models via API. So it's a closed cloud. So the information that we're getting is not used for training AI. And when you create your project, it's absolutely safe. It's just your space and the users. You can control even the roles of the users. It could be read-only mode or manager or space owner. So the information that is within each of the projects remains within this project. Yeah. So it's not used for, even by us, for AI training. Yeah. We don't use it. Yeah. We just... I just wanted to say that we, of course, get some more information with each project. So we understand, for example, this is also something great to explain to Yasna. And it's our human intelligence that is making training for Yasna.
So how do you guide the AI moderator when it's doing the one-on-one interviews to do the probing? Mm-hmm. And how many rounds of probing can it do?
As much as you wish, actually. So how do we do it? I think we can also make a one-on-one session for the demo. So I will explain in details. But just saying in few words, you create your questions and you just type in very simple words instructions to Yasna explaining what exactly she needs to do. I don't know, for example, get at least 5 likes. Or if respondents mention this, then probe on this. Yeah. If they mention, I don't know, natural ingredients, ask these 5 questions and so on. Yeah, this type of things. But by default, Yasna does probing in order to get meaningful answers to your main questions. Yeah, she's not too independent, and we made it on purpose. If you want her to probe a lot, ask her to do that. Yeah.
Super. So is the support you talked about, those days 1, 2, and 3, a part of the standard cost for using Yasna?
No, because this, I'm sorry to say this, it's not the best answer. But we are all, researchers with important background, and we really help you to make the most out of it. So it's our time. And of course, it's additional pricing. Yeah. And our project assist service starts from 1,500 euros per project. And it's up to you. Yeah. We really recommend to make it, to take it for the first, 1, 2 projects. And then if you feel yourself, confident enough, you can proceed without this professional support. But it includes, we'll help you to set up the guide, to the prompts for the analysis, the setup of the materials, fieldwork control, and things like that.
Super. So how does the collaboration on the final report go between Yasna and the researcher? Is it a collaboration all the way through, or do you hand off the final report for Yasna to write, or does Yasna hand it to you to write?
So it starts with Yasna. Yeah. So we call her she. Yeah. She is so smart. It is so smart that it deserves to be she, as we always say. So once all your interviews are completed, you actually click on one button and you already have a very detailed summary, topic by topic, and also a high level summary, kind of top line. And starting from that, you as a researcher start deepening, this information, you see something interesting, or maybe you see something that, makes you to ask more. Yeah. So this is where you step in, your research expertise, your creativity is needed. So it starts with Yasna. And then you do whatever you want. If you want, you can start by yourself. But frankly speaking, there is it's a more complex way. Yeah, I would say that starting with Yasna is better, but it's up to you at the end.
Super. So I'm going to break the next question into about 3 or 4 separate ones, because I think that might be a little bit simpler.
Wow.
First of all, if, let's say you and I, Tanya, were working on the same project of analysis, can we set it up so the talk to data, I can see what you're saying, you can see what I'm saying, we can collaborate with
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, if it's also about the roles that space owner shares, so if you as a space owner is so kind to let me in as a manager, so I can create my chat, Tanya, and there will be your chat, Ray, for example. So we're not interfering one another. Yeah. So not to make it confusing. So you can create as many chats as you need. you work on this, I work on that, yeah, or we can work together. Yeah, collaboration is possible, even without confusion.
Where are your servers, and are they in more than one place?
Sorry?
Where are the servers for Yasna? Which country are they based in?
The company, you mean? So we are based in, because we as like managers who work at Yasna, we're so widespread all over Europe, but the company is in Latvia and Slovakia.
Right. So the data servers are in the EU.
Yes, the data, in Netherlands. The data is hosted in Netherlands.
It's in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it's spontaneous.
And are you able to say which LLMs you use via the API calls?
The same that OpenAI is using.
Right. Yeah. So what is the format of the reporting that Yasna does so this first draft from Yasna, does that come down as a Word document? Does it stay on the screen? Do we cut and paste
it's on the platform. It's in your space. Yeah. So you can work with it like online. Yeah. In your space, in your project, but you can export it in PDF. Yeah. You can also copy and paste quant data into Excel, for example.
So we next have mostly a comment from a happy customer in the chat stream, but he is suggesting that it's worth mentioning, including do not probe further as an instruction, as well as...
That's true. Yeah. Because the thing is that Yasna was created as a conversational research tool from the very beginning. So her main job is to probe in order to get meaningful answers. If you don't want her to probe at all, and sometimes we hear these requests from our clients. For example, they are talking, like they want Yasna to communicate with some important B2B consumers, and they don't want, to take a lot of the time. And this way, yes, in this case, you should write, do not probe further. Ask just one question.
Okay, so I'm going to read the next question, and I very much agree with the questioner. Are there any topics where you feel AI moderation does not work? We have had the conversation often within our team that humans should moderate health-related or sensitive topics, but we disagree. Wondering what your experience has been with health-related or sensitive topics.
Oh, it's our favorite topics because, of course, with AI, people feel much more comfortable talking about sensitive topics like finance, sex. We had a really fun, very exciting study in Japan and Germany about sex toys, for example. And we were surprised how open people are because they know that there is no judgment, no bias. At the same time, AI communication feels very human-like. So it's better for sensitive topics, I would say, I was moderating for 20 years. Yeah. So of course, professional moderator can make, people feel comfortable, but some people won't even start this idea like, okay, I won't come to a focus group or to in-depth interview talking about this topic. Yeah. And we have these people with AI, right?
Yes, so absolutely. And this is if you Google it, there are quite a few research studies into this about conversational techniques and even anything that removes the human. So when we first went to self-completion with online surveys, we got better data in those particular topics. Can we use your platform?
I recalled, sorry to interrupt you. I recalled also one of the cases about hair loss. We made it in Poland and Italy. By the way, yes, in the Yasna demo space, all the users can see it. And they were very emotional, very, very, very emotional verbatims. And very deep ones. So I'm not sure it's so easy to get when you are talking about the point.
So can we use your platform with our own recruitment sources?
Yes, you can. So we are very flexible in that way. So you can recruit either from your source of recruitment, any database, your reliable panel, just, Snowball, recruited consumers, whatever you wish. Or you can recruit directly from our platform. And we have built-in panel, which is pure spectrum.
So I've just spotted that we've got some questions in the Q&A, so I will go to those in a moment. If you are out there listening and you put your
Thank you so much, everyone, for your enthusiasm. Yes. That's great.
So can we review the interview videos or query them ourselves?
Yes, you can review the videos. You can download them. You can download the pieces of videos by topic or entire videos and then create reels. Yeah.
And can the AI filter out spam responses or if anyone is deliberate to generate responses that don't make sense, creating noise in the data?
So we have a built-in control. Yasna controls the quality of the interviews. Also, by the way, in the document that Annie shared earlier, you can find information about it. So if it's a bot, Yasna detects it. So she ends the interview. If people write something senseless, something rude, something like, the whole interview is like, oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, great idea. So in this case, Yasna just ends the conversation, and it won't be as a successful interview for you, for which you have to pay. No. Yeah.
So can Yasna do the process the opposite way? So you've collected the data, you've got the data in Yasna, a human writes a report and uploads that and says, hey, Yasna, is this a good representation of the data?
I can't imagine that someone wants to do that. I mean, taking into consideration that it takes minutes for Yasna to process the data. Well, the answer is no for now. For now, you cannot upload the external data.
So I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm probably going to follow it up with one of my own. So there's a question in the Q&A. Do you recommend the number of interviews and probes? And are there levels where there are diminishing returns on doing more people?
So we recommend, let's say, because it's a combination of quant and qual, we usually recommend 100 respondents per cell. So per country or per, target audience, per brand, per age, and so on. Because in this case, you cover different opinions. You are sure and confident that you haven't missed any important information. And it's more or less okay sample for quant, right? So the least possible is 50, because sometimes it's hard to reach audience and so on, but not less than this number. And there was another question.
Well, no, it's kind of my follow-up, which is, if I was just doing qual, I would probably be happy with 10 people in each cell.
You've at least 50 for qual.
Okay, so we've got another question. When you do studies in different countries, and so the data is being collected in multiple languages, do you have to analyze it in English, or can you analyze it in whatever your language is?
Whatever you prefer. Even if you collected data in English and you want to analyze it in Chinese, you can do that. Yeah, so we
might well want to.
We have built-in 50 languages for now. We can actually add some if needed, if it's not enough. And the translation is done in second, 1 second usually, I would say.
Yeah, and we've
of everything, of the raw data and the analysis.
Yeah. So we've got what may be the last question. Can we use this for B2B as well as B2C?
Yes, Yasna is good in any type of communication, because because we have a box for instructions to Yasna. And if you instruct Yasna that you are talking to, pharmacists or IT engineers or something specific, she will take into consideration this while moderating. It will be even higher quality. But we do have experience, and we have projects with different doctors and IT engineers and drivers and different audiences. Not only B2C.
Right, and this will be the last one. So can you conduct this with dyads or triads?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. So for now, Yasna is communicating via one-on-one chats. Yeah. But we'll see.
Excellent. Okay, so let's just go back to the share button.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your questions.